Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. On Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Welcome to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy, publisher of the beloved Aspire magazine and creatrix of the upcoming Inspired Life Women's Weekend of Love, Light, and Laughter coming to Quincy, Massachusetts, April 11th and 12th, 2026. If you're ready to come together with a community of soul-aligned women on the path of self-discovery, then get all the details at inspiredlifeevent.com. Are you ready to get in the driver's seat of your life, my friend? Then you're going to want to hear this conversation. With me today is Amy Goober. She's an accomplished action coach, workshop leader, and inspiring speaker who helps women get into the driver's seat of their own lives. She guides and helps midlife women create connection and community. At 60, she launched Drive Your Life, empowering women with the tools they need to get into action for something that matters deeply to them. This signature program is offered virtually every fall, so keep your eyes open, my friends. Now, today at 65, she supports her brand Better Together Events and Community, which creates connections and learning opportunities for midlife women and support for women-owned businesses. Also, through her Wandering Woman Travel, which I just love that name, Amy, she curates and leads women's trips and experiences. In fact, she just got back from one. And she's also the author of As My Mother Always Says, 25 Lessons for Finding the Silver Lining, which I was honored to put in the Aspire Mag Top 10 Inspiring Books list. This memoir self-help book shares the amazing story of her 93-year-old mother and her life lessons. Amy, I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, I love everything you're up to. And then when we first met virtually, we had that deep conversation, and I love the whole idea of this drive your life message, right? Because you and I both know from our own life experience, sometimes we take a back seat in our own life and let our fear and doubt, navigate the course forward. So I'm really curious, what made you, at 60 years old, start Drive Your Life?
Well, that's a great question. So I've done a variety of different things. I look at myself as kind of a serial entrepreneur. I started my first business when I was 26, and now I'm 65, so I'm almost 40 years older. But the Drive Your Life, I was turning 60, and I was a health coach at the time and working for a big nationwide company, and I had had a lot of clients and coaches I was training and traveling a lot. I mean, it was definitely sort of a full-time gig, I would say. But as I was turning 60, my youngest of 3 adult children was going off to college. And even though I had that health coaching gig, I said, I really need something to kind of get absorbed in, something that I'm really passionate about and my own thing, not, working under the umbrella of another company. So I became an action coach then. And also I felt like I'm 60. What am I waiting for? I'm not 40, I'm 60. So I looked around and tried to think about, who do I want to serve? Who do I want to help? What do I want to do? And I wanted to work with women. And I'm always looking for the need, as I know you are also. And the need that I saw at the time, 5 years ago, was that a lot of women were talking about things they wanted to do, but not doing them. And I realized that I think overall that as women, we are by nature other oriented. It's very easy for all of us to care about everybody else in our world and everybody else on the planet practically before we ask ourselves what we want and put efforts toward ourselves. So I came up with the idea of a Drive Your Life program, an 8-week program with a step by step process to get into action, which is what I felt women needed. And it happened to be during COVID. So we did it virtually. And I discovered that that's all they needed. They needed a plan, a program, a coach, and then the small group coaching model was magical because they all started helping each other, right? Because again, right, we always want to help each other. So they learned a process that they could use over and over again. And that's sort of what motivated me, but I still do it today. As you mentioned, I do it every fall. And I just want to get women going, but also give them the tools they need. I didn't want it to be a program where we talk for 8 weeks and then they don't have anything at the end of it. This way, they're doing the program while we are doing the program. So they see progress.
And that's what we need because we can all get stuck in inertia, can't we?
Yes. Yes.
And I love what you said too, because it's so true. And I have a large community in my Inspired Living University group, and we were just talking yesterday about the topic of grace on the Mindset Elevation call. And as we were all adding to the conversation, a lot of what came up is what you said. You said we have a tendency as women to care for everyone else. Well, what came up in yesterday's call is we also have a tendency to give others love, compassion, and grace, but not ourselves.
Right.
Isn't it funny how we're wired to drain ourselves by giving outward, but we got to remember to fill our own cups so we can make the changes in our own lives.
Yes. Yes.
Do you see that too in your community? It's like
Yes.
healing that wound that says, I can only give myself the love, grace, compassion, time once everyone else is taken care of.
I mean, I see that, but I also don't even know if there's the self-awareness of that all the time. I think that, again, we just do. And what we do most comfortably is for others. And I think when women try to make choices for themselves, they can feel guilty, whether that's warranted or not. And I think they have to like flex the muscle. I mean, I work with one-on-one clients also, and one of the exercises I give them is to make two columns on a piece of paper. And one says I like, and the other says I don't like. And I tell them, for a week to just jot things down, small, medium, large, whatever it is. I like pink. I don't like brown. I like pizza. I don't like pasta. It can be little things. And many times they say it's challenging because they sort of have forgotten how to ask themselves what they really want. And it feels uncomfortable and it feels selfish, all these negative things. And then eventually they get the hang of it. And then the next week they come back and they're like, I have more on my list. So it's also taking away that guilt of feeling selfish, which it isn't selfish to take care of yourself, is it? I don't
No,
think.
it isn't. But now that you said that, that's a theme that comes up so often in conversations, right, with women, and we both serve the same audience. Well, mine is midlife women on the path of self-discovery, right? They're
Hmm.
open to, it's almost like they woke up in the middle of their life and said, how the hell did I get here?
Hmm.
Because they were living on autopilot, like you said, doing, doing, doing. And my phrase is, they forgot how to be in their own life.
Yeah. Hmm.
And so one of the things like I think I'm drawn to that drive your life framework is just the name of it. It feels empowering to me.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine as they're going through your framework in that journey with you in learning those strategies, they're walking away with tools that will serve them for the rest of their lives.
Well, that's right. It's learning a process, which is why I do it that way, so that they can get into action on the thing they want to do now, and then 6 months from now they can use the same process, the step-by-step process to get into action then.
And you talk a lot about action in your work. Is it that because you notice that so many women were frozen and not taking action on their dreams and desires?
Yes, I think that what happens, it's a combination of complacency, we just get comfortable, and I think the focus on others that we already discussed, but I also think that this is just my own philosophy, that as women get older, sometimes we lose some of our confidence. And so we're a little rusty. We're rusty on making new friends. We're rusty on trying new experiences, right? So I think because of that, that with the complacency, we're talking about things and we're not doing them. And then it feels a little scary and it's out of our comfort zone. And we don't always have the people in our lives to give us the nudge. So I like to encourage women to get comfortable being uncomfortable, and they can start small. I'm not saying go start a business. That might not be for everyone, but it could be, you go to a yoga class and you've never spoken to another woman in that room. So it could be getting up the nerve to say to somebody, "Hi, my name is Mary. Do you want to grab a cup of coffee after this?" For some women, that's hard. That's not second nature. And it could be something medium like trying signing up for a course or going on a trip, something like that. Or it could be large, which to me is, big picture, career, relationship, where do you live, those kinds of things. So I just think we're kind of out of practice, many women.
Oh, I agree. And I also think too, is a lot of us are caught up in ageism, maybe from the way they're raised. Like I have clients that are vibrant and contributing to the world in their beautiful way that are in their 70s and just starting businesses. But a lot of us, depending on how we were raised, and I know you weren't raised this way because I've seen you and your mom in action, is that oh, when you get to this certain point in your life, those dreams got to be put on the back shelf. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm 63 this year and I'm just beginning, darling. So do you notice that too, that they tell themselves the story of, well, I can't take action on this. What would people think at my age?
Exactly. And I also think it's the fear of failure. So even if they don't get to the point where they're worried about what other people will think, they're worried about themselves succeeding. And really, success is doing. So I also feel strongly that it's really important to just try things. That the things we regret in life are the things we don't do. Right? You rarely hear people saying that they regret things they've done that didn't work out well. They don't regret it. They either learn from the experience or they move on. But what people regret are the sort of sighing, like, oh, I really always wanted to go to Fiji and I never really got that, those kinds of things. So I think it's also just fear of the unknown and fear of maybe not succeeding. And I always think what's the worst that can happen is, you try something and it doesn't work out. You talk to Mary at yoga and she says, "I have enough friends, I'm not interested." What's the worst thing that could possibly happen, right? In that scenario. Or I was just speaking to a woman the other day about one of our trips and she said, "Oh, I'm overthinking it. I know I want to go. I just don't know what to do." And I just said, "Listen, you have to be comfortable with me and our company and all these things. But once you are, what's the alternative? The alternative is to stay home. And we're all home a lot. So, I think sometimes we have to just sort of take nudge, a light nudge. Like I never talk anybody into anything, but I do try to give them like, what's the flip side?
I think that's so important, Amy.
Yeah.
And we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about something else that you're known for, and that's your Better Together events and the community you've built.
Great.
So we'll be back in a moment, my friend. You can learn more about Amy at amygoober.com. We'll be right back.
Connecting you with the best of the conscious minds in the world. Om Times Radio. IOM FM.
Your truest, deepest desires are calling you. The question is, will you answer the call? Former high-tech Fortune 500 leader Sharon Seberg knows how it feels to wear busyness as a badge of honor and to smother her dreams with the expectations of others. Walking away from her successful yet unfulfilling career, she chose to live a life connected to her intuitive wisdom and divine truth, and now lives a life of fulfillment, peace, and abundance. Today, Sharon is a neurotransformational coach, feminine power facilitator, and the visionary founder of the Soul Alignment Formula. She empathetically fuses cutting-edge neuroscience with intuitive coaching, supporting successful women to unlock their full potential so they can live a life of authenticity and freedom. Are you ready to excavate your deepest desires and bring them to life? Start by visiting SharonSeberg.com.
Consistently attract soulmate clients, begin showing up on brand, monetizing on your calling. Welcome all spiritual coaches, leaders, healers, light workers, and practitioners to a show that turns you on in your business and amplifies your magnetism. I'm host, catalyst, and spiritual business coach Rosalind Fung, and I'm here to journey with you into the juicy and help you discover where the real gaps are. Ignite your mindset and soul with strategies and systems as each episode takes you to the sweet spot that activates your soulgasmic business by tuning in on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Mountain. Join me for your light language activation and let's magnetize and monetize.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. Times Radio. FM.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. With me is action coach Amy Goober. And we've been talking about getting in the driver's seat of your life, breaking out of your comfort zone. And before the break, I asked Amy that I want to talk about something that she has created. Amy lives in the same state I do, Massachusetts, and she is known for her Better Together events. So talk to me about that, Amy. What led you to create it? I think I got the feel of everything you do from a conversation, but guide us through it.
Yeah. So during COVID, I had run a virtual program where I brought in experts every week, and the women were on Zoom, right? But we were doing the things, like we were doing all these things to learn about different areas from different experts because I wanted to support those women entrepreneurs and I wanted to get the women at home active in something. And I did that for a while and it was great. And then at the beginning of 2023, I said to myself, what am I doing? I could do this in person now. So the spring of 2023 was the first, and we just had our fifth Better Together event last month. And so the premise for me, it's really threefold. One is to connect women so that women have a place they can go for a full day event, even if they don't know anyone. They sit all right next to each other, so they always chat with somebody new, and they arrive alone maybe, but they don't leave alone. So it's the connection, then it's the learning. So I bring in speakers from all different facets of life, things that we would be interested in, sort of serious and less serious. Like I try to really balance it. So it might be our health or menopause or, a health coach kind of thing. And then it might be an interior designer, right? So it might be a financial person and then it might be skincare. So those kinds of things. And we try to have a really varied agenda and we do a big lunch and we have women entrepreneurs are our sponsors. And so then I really want to support the entrepreneurial women. So it's sort of threefold. It's connection, learning, and then supporting the women entrepreneurs. And what I hear, it's hard to know, as you know, when you're in the middle of something, what it really feels like to other people. But the feedback I get is that the energy is fabulous in the room and that these women are so happy they came. And again, it's what we said at the very beginning. I say to them, thank you for, or good for you for taking a day for yourself, right? These women signed up, they pay the ticket price, and they arrive. And it's all for them. And I think that success is a layering process. And that's one of the layers, right? Regardless of what they thought of the day, they planned a day for themselves. And not all women do that, unfortunately.
Oh my God, it's so true. It's like just the moment they purchased the ticket, they were saying yes to themselves.
Correct. Yep.
And
Exactly.
that to me sounds like both our missions is
Yes.
to remind women that they are worthy of following their passions, creating space for themselves, and not being last on their own to-do list.
Exactly. Yes.
That's a big milestone for so many women. And I know for someone listening, they might be going, they just, all they did was buy a ticket. No, they didn't just buy a ticket. They said yes to some part of themselves that's yearning for what that event or offer brings them. And that's what I recognize in a woman. There's some women, I'm sure you've met them, Amy, that attending your event or one of mine was a big jump out of their comfort zone.
Right.
And I
Right.
mean, I'm always honored, as I know you are, when a woman says yes to herself and circles up with me in whatever capacity. I think it's sacred.
Right. And again, I think that it's okay if it feels uncomfortable. Like I'm always saying, get comfortable being uncomfortable. It's okay if it feels uncomfortable. That's okay. As long as you're not petrified and, immobilized. It's okay to be anxious. Like there's nothing wrong with that. My mother said the other day, if we didn't have anxiety, we'd all be dead because we wouldn't have the nervousness to look both ways to cross the street. We've created this thing that anxiety is this big horrible thing, and for many people it is a big horrible thing. But that little bit of butterflies or that little bit of like, I don't know, is okay because it can really push us to go a little bit beyond our comfort zone.
Yeah, and as I like to teach is there's a whole beautiful world outside that box that we sometimes put ourselves in that we're afraid to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell the woman, I go, listen, while you're in that box, which is the comfort zone, get a little step stool. I just want you to peek over the edge of what's possible. Peek
Love
over
it.
the edge of this wall you built for yourself that tells you can't have dreams, or take an art class, or take your first yoga class, right? I want you to look at the possibility that's waiting out there, and you'll know when you're ready to come out of the box.
Yeah, I love it.
And I think we've all done that. I know I have, Amy. I put myself in such a tight box because I think probably fear and anxiety. I've been an entrepreneur for 33 years, but I can remember going, I can't do that. I can't try that. And then one day I just said, I think being a mother too, because my daughter's 41, I started witnessing what I was saying and realized, oh, goodness gracious, she's going to pick up my scripts. And I wanted to end that cycle. So I think being a mom, she was my kind of push
Yeah.
to come out of my comfort zone, to show her that it's okay to be afraid, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm blessed that now I have the most courageous 13-year-old granddaughter,
Yeah.
and I want her to try new things.
Right.
So, how often do you do your Better Together events? I know you have one coming up in November here in Massachusetts.
Right. So we have been doing them twice a year. So this one in this last April 2025 was our fifth one, and we have one November 15th of this year, 2025. And then we're actually going to be moving to making it an annual event, because what we found was that for all the effort that we put into it, we might as well make it into a once a year event, and then we can make it bigger and better. And then we will do something else in the spring. We have a whole lot of ideas in our, I'm an idea factory. So we will be moving that. So yeah, so they will be annually in November, and the next one is November 15th. So of course we would love any of your listeners to join us if they're able to.
Is the link, can they find it at amygoober.com, or do you have
Yeah.
a custom link
Yes.
for Better Together?
Yeah, no, if they go onto my website, they'll see Better Together, and there's actually a wait list form because it's not open for registrations yet. But if you just jump on the wait list, then you'll be there learning when is the early bird price and when can I get in. But all that is on my website, amygoober.com. Everything should be on there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful site.
Thank
And so one of the other things I wanted to talk about was, um, I think we're going to wait for that because I don't want to have to cut you off. We're going to take a break right now so I can dive into the juicy part of the conversation without interrupting you. So we'll be back in a moment, my friends. Please visit Amy at amygoober.com. While you're there, you'll learn about the Better Together events. You can also grab a copy of her new book, As My Mother Always Says, 25 Lessons for Finding the Silver Lining. amygoober.com. We'll be right back.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. Times Radio. FM.
It's time to create space for you in your life. instead of squeezing it in after you take care of everyone else. If you're feeling overwhelmed, burned out, and resentful, those signs are letting you know it's time for emotional first aid. Mindfully integrating 3 decades of nursing experience, Dawn Michelle Jackson combines her empathic insights with her expertise as an advanced grief recovery method specialist and infinite possibilities trainer to help women heal their hearts, transform their lives, and rediscover joy. During her nursing career, caring for children, veterans, trauma, and surgical patients, Dawn discovered the intricate connection between the mind and body. Today, with a compassionate approach, she expertly guides women to attain mind, body, and spirit wellness through her coaching, books, and retreats. Learn more at dawnmichellejackson.com.
If I could be you,
and you could be me for just 1 hour.
If you could find a way
to get inside
each other's mind.
walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out. And for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of Times Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of Times. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world.
Thank you for circling up with us today. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. So, Amy, one of the other things that you own and have created is called Wandering Women Travel. And you and I had a personal conversation about that. So, what led you to create that brand and offering also?
Thank you for asking. So I'm the sort of person when somebody says, can you do this? I do it. I just say, okay. So when we talked about when I was doing Drive Your Life, somebody during that process of the first 2 years of it or the first year or two of it said, could you create a retreat? So I said, okay. And I created the first sort of retreat that was in Scottsdale, Arizona. And then I did one the next year. So this was fall of 21, then fall of 22. And then someone said, well, could you just do women's trips? And I said, okay, because the retreats were a little more coaching focused. It was more about, moving your life forward. And they were wonderful and had great results. But other women suggested, could I do women's travel? So then I said, okay. And I started Wandering Women. So really the premise of it is that it's an extension of trying to connect women at an event. Now we travel together. So the connections are accelerated because we're together, 4 or 5 days. And again, the feedback and the results and the testimonials were so good that I felt like, okay, now I've hit upon something. And I just kept going. So now I think we've done 8 trips total. As of 9 trips now total. And then we have an Algonquin weekend coming up, a Quebec trip. We went to Cancun earlier this year, and we have a Charleston trip in December. So we'll be offering probably 4 to 5 trips a year now, whereas it was 1 or 2 or 3. So we are expanding, but not in some crazy way. I mean, there won't ever be, 30-person tour buses. I mean, I'm so not interested in that myself. So trying to create experiences for women that I know I would enjoy. But the premise of it is, I think too, that it's like solo travel, but you're not alone. So it's for women who want to travel that maybe don't have someone to travel with, or do have someone to travel with, but want to travel beyond that, or want to experience new places or travel with women. And they either don't have the people or they don't want to plan it. So my women come along and they say, we don't have to worry about anything because Amy's here. Amy will tell us. Amy knows what to do. So whether it's myself or we have other trip leaders, it's a stress-free trip with a very dedicated woman in charge and lots of women to make connections with.
I love that you keep it on a smaller basis and true relationships and community can be built.
Mm-hmm.
And one of
Exactly.
the things I read, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, that single woman travelers is a big industry right now. A woman is saying, you know what, I'm tired of putting my life on hold. And what you offer covers both. Women who want to travel solo, but will love the safety of going in a group.
Right. And I think even if it's not safety, but I know what you're saying, the comfort and the all
Mm,
that. But so I think you're saying that too. But it's also the idea that I just spoke to a woman the other day, and she was just saying, something comes up and I say, oh, I can't do that. No, I can't do this or I can't do that. And, she said, but I watched you and I see what you're doing. And she knew a few people that had been on my trip. So that gave her a different level of comfort, you know? And, I just said, listen, you do you. Is one of my favorite sayings. But I want to give women the opportunity to challenge themselves and try something new, as we said before, maybe feeling a little uncomfortable, but not being scared. There's a big difference, right? Between feeling a little at unease and being scared. So we're not trying to scare anybody. But overall, the women love the experiences. They've made great friendships. I was just watching the testimonial video reel earlier today, and I, just smiled to myself that women want to travel, they want to do these things, and they feel comfortable, but they feel like they found what they're looking for, I guess I would say.
I love that. And I love the name of it too,
Thank you.
Wandering Woman Travel. So you have a book,
Yeah.
and though I've never met your mom, I watched your I think it was Channel 5, right?
Well, it was channel 25, but you're
No,
close.
25. And I just love her spirit. I've seen photos at your event. So your book is called As My Mother Always Says, 25 Lessons for Finding the Silver Lining. And again, my friends, her mother is 93 years old and such a vibrant, bright light. So Amy, what led you to write that book?
Yeah, so I found that I was quoting my mother a lot, more than usual over the past, like, let's say 5-ish years. And both with clients, but even in my own regular conversations with friends, I'd say, well, as my mother says, or my mother always says, or my mother would say, or here's a quote from my mother. And I realized that the sort of lessons and sayings were very valuable, that I was utilizing them, that I was illustrating them as good examples, and that I wanted to share that. And then I said, well, now I'm keeping a secret. I've got this great sort of mantra. I've got this great way of looking at life. And now I'm keeping it to myself. So I approached my mother and I said, do you want to write this book with me? And of course she said, okay. So we set out to try to narrow down the lessons, and then she has her spin and I give my spin, and then in the finality of it she said, I think we need the story to really glue it all together. And so she has a fascinating story. So it's really part memoir and part self-help. And so the story is what keeps you going. And then the life lessons are what did she learn during those different periods of her life? And I thought about this to myself today in anticipation of our conversation, Linda. And I thought, this woman was born in the Great Depression. When you really wrap your head around that, it's so foreign. It seems like so long ago. Guess what? Because it was almost 100 years ago.
I know when you just
No.
said that, I was like, well, it was.
Right. But what a resource. And she's so funny. We just did, and we've done a few in-person events recently. And she's now telling the audience what they should be doing. She's
Oh, that is
counseling them.
priceless.
On top of telling her story and her history, she's really a gem in a lot of ways. And so I wanted to share it is the answer. And now I have the book, and now I need to really market it to get it out there, because it's no good if it's not in people's hands.
It's so true, my friend. It's so true. And as you know, I'm a book publisher, so I've published 21 books, all women's stories, and I know the labor of love,
Hmm.
especially for the style you wrote, which is the pop memoir. So kudos to you and your mom, because I know the heart and soul that goes into writing a book like this. And seeing her smile, I think it was at your event, right? Because I saw the photos on social media. It was at your recent event with the book signing and all that.
Yes.
The two of you together, but she was glowing like, oh yes, I'm the queen for the day.
Yeah, and it's funny because I don't think of her in general, like growing up or even now, as sort of like wanting to be the center of attention. But I think that this has really created like a thriving in her because she's always been a server. She was a social worker. She counseled many people and supported many people. But I think like somebody at the event, the recent event said, what was the process like? And she said she really has learned a lot by observing herself during this process. But what, when we look back on our experiences in our life, it's not unusual to have a different look, a different take on it, right?
Yeah, but what a great insight from her
Yes,
to be able to be aware of that insight.
right, right.
And so what are your plans next with the book? Are you going to have more book signings and
Yeah,
events?
yeah. I mean, we during the Better Together event that we had last month, we did a big book signing and a book launch, and we both spoke. We did a book talk. She's a great speaker. She's really just a fascinating speaker, and I find that the women are like on the edge of their seat listening to her more so than myself or anybody else, actually. But I'm sort of joking. But yeah, she's a draw. So I mean, I'll see. It's been a big process, as you know, just to get the book published, and it was just published the end of March, so not long ago. And then we had our big event, and I just came back from a trip. But I would love to see this book get into more people's hands because we've had such great response to it, great reviews. It's been so positive that I need to now focus on that. We did have the news story you mentioned. I am working with a book PR group. We've done many podcasts and things, and that's really the goal is to have somebody say, "Yeah, I'm gonna get that book. I want to read that book." That's really it's sort of a slow but fast process, right? You just have to
It's a
get the word.
marathon. It's not
Yeah,
a
the
sprint.
marathon. Yeah, right.
And two things popped up in my mind is this book would be great to talk to the head librarians because I just spoke to the librarian in Lakeville and I just wanted to get some info. And she said, we're always looking for great workshops to host here, and they do all the marketing.
Right.
So libraries, believe it or not, I don't like calling them nursing homes, elder care homes,
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
your mother would walk in there like this Spitfire and energize
Yeah.
them and give love and hope. Right there are two audiences that I know could really be touched by her and the book as
Yeah.
well as yourself. So just wanted to throw that out there because sometimes people forget that libraries can attract some beautiful crowds to their workshops.
Right. That's true.
And so let me see what else I have here. So you wrote that with your mom. We know you have your November event coming. You got Wandering Woman Travel coming up. So let's talk about your Drive Your Life. Let's circle it back to there. If there's
Yeah.
one message you would want women to know who might be struggling with taking action, whether it's a dream or trying something new like an art class, what would you say to someone that is feeling stuck?
Yeah, I think a few things I would say is it's just taking the first step, the tiniest step. And the first step should never take more than 30 minutes. So when you decide you're going to do something, your very first step should be very short, and then you check that off. Because success is a layering experience. So, then you get that under your belt, and then something else and something else. I also think what I said before, I always say to people, get comfortable being uncomfortable because the alternative is you stay right where you are. So it's not that I'm not uncomfortable and I don't get nervous. Of course I do, but I push myself because I say, what's the alternative? So I also think it's getting the support. That's why I do the Drive Your Life program. It's why women like you are serving people. Find support from someone who could help you move forward, and be careful who you talk to.
Yes.
We all have people in our lives that we know, I know exactly, what people are going to say when I call them and say, I've got this idea, here's what I'm doing. I know exactly who's going to say, of course you can do it, you can do anything. And who's going to say, really? You're kidding. How are you going to do that? I don't know how you're going to do that. That seems really hard. Oh, I could never do that. You don't want to talk to those people when you're in the middle of trying to start something. You want to talk to the people that are your positive people, your supportive people. So pick and choose, even with your kids. I'm sure people have children of their own that they know they're the ones that say, Mom, you can do it, go. And the other ones that say, oh, Mom, I don't know. I don't know if you should do that. So I say choose wisely who you're going to speak to.
Oh, I believe that with my whole heart. You have to have, I call them dream lifters instead of dream suckers, right?
Mhm.
And when they share from that place of sucking away your dreams, it's because they are living in such fear and are almost knotted up because they never had the courage to follow their dreams.
Right.
And so I look at them with no judgment because we've all have these people in our lives. I just go, you know what? That's not going to be me. I'm not going to get to the end of my life and say, I wish I had.
Right.
And it's like you said at the beginning of the call, I want to surround myself with dream lifters. And that's what it sounds like you're doing between the Better Together events, your Drive Your Life, and your beautiful travel brand is showing women what's possible.
Right. And just to circle back for a second, their dream doesn't have to be my dream. And they don't have to go start a business. They can do, like we said, talk to Mary and go to coffee. Whatever it is that is what they're thinking about, but they're just not doing. Try a new recipe. I mean, for some people, it's something small, right? So
Yes.
I think that's part of it is you don't have to, we live in a very comparative society right now because of social media mainly. We see what every other person on the planet is and isn't doing. And I just think your thing doesn't have to be my thing. Your thing is your thing. But try to realize that it doesn't take much to make progress. It really doesn't. It's just a matter of taking that first step.
Did you notice too, Amy? I noticed, like hindsight's 2020, of course, that every time I was really fearful, but I took action anyway, the next step was always revealed. Like we don't have to know our exact plan A to Z mapped out. We just got to take that first action step. And I noticed the next natural step has always been revealed to me. And once I learned to embrace that trust, that I just got to take this step. I don't have to worry about the next 25 steps to get to where I want to go. Have you
Right.
noticed that too?
Yes, and I think I totally agree with that. And it takes it takes a little doing to not be worried about the end result.
It does. It does. It
But
really
that's
does.
okay because, right? I mean, if I don't know, I can't think of an easy example, but it almost doesn't matter what you do as long as you start, because I really think the things we regret in life mainly are the things we don't do. So get
Oh,
started.
yeah.
It doesn't work out, so it didn't work out. What's the worst case scenario, right? I mean, isn't that typically a good way to just push yourself forward? And it is taking the first baby step.
It
And then
truly
and,
is.
and then saying to yourself, what if I don't do it? I'll be right back where I am now. And if you're so happy where you are now, then stay where you are now. But if things are in your mind, everybody has something that they keep saying they're going to do that they don't do. Everybody. So I'm saying just start doing it. Don't like I want to clean out my closet, right? Don't clean out your closet. I mean that might take you 3 days. Just spend half an hour working on your shoes. Whatever.
Yeah.
There's always a way to trim it down and make it a little more step by step, but don't shy away from what you keep saying you're going to do. Just do it or do part of it. And if at the end it's not really what you wanted, then don't finish it. But I hate to see people just not even starting, is what I would say.
Powerful message, my friend. We're going to take our final break and we'll be back in a moment with Amy Goober. Be sure to visit her website at amygoober.com to learn about her book, My Mother Always Says, as well as the Better Together events in her Wandering Woman travel. We'll be right back for the last segment, my friends.
The best of the holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. Times Radio. IOM FM.
It's time to begin the adventure of a lifetime by nurturing the most important relationship you will ever have, the relationship with yourself. Kelly Grimes, self-nurturing expert, speaker, and author of the bestseller, The Art of Self-Nurturing, a field guide to living with more peace, joy, and meaning, shares that a self-nurturing practice is not about being perfect or completing another thing on your to-do list, but rather nurturing a relationship with yourself. In The Art of Self-Nurturing, you'll discover the inspiration, examples, reflective questions, and self-nurturing practices that will empower you to become the artist of your own life and see self-nurturing as an art form. Rather than living from obligation and overwhelm, you will learn to cultivate a life filled with self-compassion and self-love. Order your copy today at artofselfnurturingbook.com and receive the Self-Nurturing Starter Kit as a supportive gift.
More than 24 million Americans have an autoimmune disorder, and that number continues to grow. I'm Sharon Saylor, and I'm one of those 24 million. To put that number in perspective, cancer affects about 9 million and heart disease up to 22 million. That's why I've brought together top experts and those thriving regardless of their diagnosis to bring you the latest, most up-to-date information. Join me, Sharon Saylor, Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, for the Autoimmune Hour on Life Interrupted Radio to find out how to live your life uninterrupted.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Free your mind with Times Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back. Thanks for listening and joining us today. So, Amy, everything you just spoke about is about taking action. I always use the phrase inspired action because to me, it's like this inner pull towards my dream, even though I don't, whatever that dream may be. It could be just taking an art class. Like, I have never tried yoga, okay? I'm saying that on the radio. I have never tried it. And I'll watch all the videos and go, I don't think my body can do that. And I know that this year I am going to conquer that story and just lean in and take one of those yoga nidra ones, the ones that you just lay down, and just start, because I caught that I am not taking a yoga class because of a false story. And that peeves me off. So I'm like, no, I'm going to take action. So my action steps, speaking about action, Amy, look up some within like a 10-minute radius of my home, because I didn't want my schedule or time to be an excuse. So I just took action Monday of looking up those places. That's what you mean, right? I didn't have to commit to it. I just had to start nurturing that next step. And ladies, there's something that maybe you're not doing, or that you keep thinking of and it keeps coming into your awareness, but you're not moving forward. I invite you to take Amy's advice. Just one small step. And I like what you said, Amy, I think in the last segment. The first step should just be 30 minutes. Is there like a reason? Because then it's less overwhelming?
Yeah, I mean, I just believe that that's the way to get started. And you tell yourself, okay, I really don't want to clean out my closet or my basement or whatever it is. I really don't want to do that. I need to do it, but I don't want to do it. So, and then you never do it because it seems too big of a task. So then my philosophy is you say, okay, I'll do it for 30 minutes, because you can do anything for 30 minutes, right? Anything, right? Really can. So you do it for 30 minutes. And when the timer goes off, you stop. You don't say, wow, this wasn't so bad, I'll keep going, because you have to keep your promise to yourself. So you do it for 30 minutes. And then the next time that you just still don't feel like doing it, you'll do it for 30 minutes because you know it's only 30 minutes. So that's why. It's so that you can make a start and then you can sort of keep your promise to yourself.
I love this. And listen, ladies, you deserve this. You deserve to create space in your life for yourself, for the visions in your heart, for the ideas that come to fruition. Because think of it, Amy, yourself, myself, and many of the women we know. When I started Aspire, which I can't believe will be 20 years old next year, right at my event, we'll turn 20. I didn't say, I think I'll start a magazine that will celebrate 20 years. I said, what's my first step? Oh, I better learn how to print a magazine. And I just kept taking steps that aligned with what I desired for my life. Never did I imagine that 5 other media brands would come out of that, all because I took action, even though I was afraid way back then. Wasn't afraid, I'll be honest, I was petrified. I'm like, who the hell am I to be doing this? But my heart was leading the way and I just trusted. And something else you said, it's okay if we fall down. Some of my best wisdom and life lessons came because of my failures in life, business, relationships. I look back now and I wouldn't change any of them. Have you had that experience too?
Yes, and I mean, that's part of what we talk about in the book is there are no bad experiences in life, just the ones you don't learn from. So when things go wrong and feel bad and don't go well and you're unhappy and upset, at that moment you won't see it, but further down the road you will be able to look back and say, yeah, that's when I picked myself up and really used my resilience, or that's when I was so frustrated with everything that I decided to do this. Those experiences are not wasted, if you can look at it that way.
Well, at the time, I might not have looked at it that way, but
Yes.
you know,
Right. At the time you can't. Correct.
yeah, but now I look back and go, oh, I see why that happened, and I don't have any regrets.
Right.
Even though some were painful as I was going through it in life, business, relationship, all of it. And but now I go, it got me to where I am today, and I don't mean as a business owner, just as a person, who I
Correct.
am. I couldn't be who I am today if I didn't have all those experiences, good, bad, messy, all of them.
Right. Right.
And is there a link on your site for them to learn about your Drive Your Life program? Is there a wait list or anything that they can get?
Yeah, I actually, that's a great question. It's going to be this September, so there may not be a list on there yet, although there may be. So yes, go to my website, and that's where you can do anything. You can get on our wait list and do all of that. But I mean, not our wait list. You can get on our email list. But there will be a wait list, and I offer a noon time and an evening time, like a 7 o'clock time. And it's an 8-week, 1 hour a week course. And by the end of it, you're already doing the thing you've been saying you were going to do for a long time. And it's
Yeah, it
always, oh, sorry.
creates momentum.
Yeah. And it's not always something concrete. Like I was talking about clean your closet. It very often can be in a personal relationship. I mean, there's many other things. It's not always something concrete.
Yeah, and every single woman's going to come to the table with her own vision to
Right.
take action on.
Right. Yes.
Well, I want to invite everyone to visit Amy at amygoober.com. Stay connected with her. Watch for her for my Massachusetts, Southern New England friends. Watch for her Better Together events and other offerings. And Amy, you're such a bright light in the world. Tell your mom I said hello. And thank you for joining me, my friend.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been wonderful.
Until next time, my friends, choose love, choose joy, choose happiness. Blessings.
Thanks for listening to Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. Join our sacred space every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern and meet leading female visionaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy is a soulful venue where guests share the obstacles they've overcome, along with wisdom and lessons learned on their personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic and soulful living.